Old ass movie reviews. I'm Joe Sonnenblick. Don is not going to be with us the month of October. He's getting married again to the same woman. But they're jet setting, and I forgot where they're getting married. So I'm not even going to say it. Could be Morocco. Feels like it's Morocco. Casablanca is their favorite movie, or one of their favorite movies. So I feel like it's going to be that. Yeah, I don't like Casablanca. I like Humphrey Bogart. But we love Don and Nikki. We will always love Don and Nikki, and it's important that we shout Don and Nikki out. One of the greatest couples ever, really. I've known them for I don't know how long now. But yeah, we wish them well, and we wish them luck in Morocco, Casablanca, and we hope that they have fun, and hope that everyone shows out for them. I'm not showing out for them because it's in fucking Morocco. I think it's in Morocco. We'll have to scrap this whole minute and 33 seconds if it's not in Morocco. But it's October. We only did one movie for September. We were supposed to do Bad Lieutenant, but that didn't happen either. We did Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai, that review. I don't know. It's going to be over here, or over there, up here, or there. I don't know where it's going to be, but it's going to be somewhere. So I'm doing 1973's The Wicker Man today. It's going to be a shorter review, I promise. I'm going to be looking at the clock periodically. You're going to see me looking down. You're going to see me looking at notes. But I'm going to be doing 1973's The Wicker Man. I'm not going through the years. Mean Streets came out in 73. See that. That's what I'm going to tell you about 1973. Go see that, Mean Streets. And I think The Godfather Part 2 as well, if I'm not mistaken. And The Friends of Eddie Coyle. So I am going to tell you about 1973. Those movies came out in 1973, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Save the Tiger as well. There are a lot of movies that came out in 1973. Scarecrow with Pacino and Hackman, I believe, came out in 73. Look, it's a treasure trove up there of losing bets in movies. So The Wicker Man. Based on a novel by... oh man, I forgot the fucking guy's name already. This is bad. Based on a novel. It's based on a novel. It's about this officer, Neil Howie, Sergeant Neil Howie, who's a dickhead, but he's essentially going to this Scottish island, Summerisle, and he's searching for a missing girl. Rowan Morrison is her name. And he wants to know about this disappearance. And he goes there and immediately something's off. Goes in the seaplane, immediately something's off. These shots. I mean, Kubrick definitely watched this film. And whoever the fuck made Midsommar, which is a piece of shit, watched this film. And ripped it off, essentially. This film, the opening scenes are you could tell that Robin Hardy, who directed this, he was a British television presenter, director. The screenplay is by Anthony Schaefer, who is the playwright Peter Schaefer's brother. Stars Edward Woodward as Neil Howie, Britt Eklund, Diane Salento, Ingrid Pitt, and Christopher Lee as the Lord of Summerisle. He's fucking great, Christopher Lee. If you've watched Hammer Horror, where he's Dracula, he does those sort of roles, and he is excellent in this. This came out in December of 73, and then released in 75 in the United States in June of 75. So it cost about $400,000 to make and made $475,000, which, look, at the time for a movie like this is very good. Very, very good. This character that Woodward plays, by the way, Edward Woodward, fantastic in this film as the Sergeant Howie. This devout Christian man who goes to Summerisle as an officer of the law, as an officer for God. And he goes there and immediately realizes that he is on a pagan island. And the way it's played by each of the inhabitants and a lot of tits in this movie. A lot of tits, by the way. Tits. The way it's played by the inhabitants of this film is that this is their lord. This is the sun god, the moon god, the god of the sea, the god of the plains. They're all different gods, and in pagan worship, every piece of nature has a god attached to it. It's almost like Wiccan, but I think paganism was around longer, if I'm not mistaken. And it's Celtic paganism. This film feels to me the way a good psychological horror film feels to me. All characters are fleshed out and vague in the same breath. It's not jump scary. It's not violent, really, in any sort of way. It's just a good story. And it unfolds. These people are playing that this kid is not missing. She never existed. So he goes on this, what seems like he's only there for a weekend or 3 days, and he's just going through the motions of trying to figure out every angle where this kid could have disappeared. And it comes back to the fact that he's a virgin. The cop is a virgin. He is a trusting man of God, and he is a man of country. And that's going to play big later, the big reveal. So the school teacher is teaching the children about phallic penis symbols and how that, correlates to nature. The May Day pole, the kids are dancing around it, and it's a very erotic, homosexual dance that they're doing, and they're all sort of wispy and blonde hair, and it's very interesting. It's visually confrontational in a way where you're like, wow, this is fucking great. This is unbelievable. For 1973, the practical effects are awesome. Don would have loved this. And this character's mind is being broken by these people because he keeps relating to Jesus Christ. He keeps talking about Jesus Christ. The women are tempting him. There's a whole naked scene when Howie goes to the local inn to stay the night, and the proprietor of the inn's daughter. By the way, the proprietor of the this is totally it's a gay man. He's got a daughter. I don't know how that works out, but he essentially gives his daughter to all the people in the bar. This one, Robbie Coltrane looking character from the Harry Potter series, big hulking man. He's like humping her in the bar, and then there's this whole naked music scene where she's pounding on the walls. And Paul Thomas Anderson definitely took the scene in The Master from the Wicker Man, for sure. Borrowed the scene. And he gets an anonymous letter to this Howie, and he's staying there, and he goes to the Green Man Inn, and the Green Man is a pagan god of grass and abundance. And now he's seeing that each year has a May Queen, because they have a May Day, and each year has a May Queen, and the picture for 1972 is gone, and they say, oh, it broke, and it's a lot of horse hockey. And he goes to all these different shops around the island, and on the island there's this one shop with all these curios in it, like dead rabbits, hearts, brains, pig's blood, and this island is all about fruit you come to learn that this was originally a Christian island, but as Christopher Lee says near Middle End, Jesus had his chance and he blew it here, which is such a great line. There are a bunch of this is definitely an anti-religion film and an anti-Catholic Christian film, which is right up my alley. But the humor is really not there in this film. There's madness. There's a lot of madness about, and the way it's shot by Robin Hardy, it's not gonna fucking blow your socks off. It's not. This is not a director that you're going, wow, look at these shots. Until the very end, until the last 10 or so minutes, you're like, wow, that's something what he did. And May Day is their big celebration and their tribute to their gods, their pagan gods, right? And Howie's like, well, where's this fucking little kid? So he goes into the graveyard where she's supposed to be buried. There's a dead March hare in her grave, and that's another pagan thing, that she is reincarnated as this March hare. They put the March hare in. That's what she's supposed to be now. And middle end of the film, he returns to his seaplane to discover that shit don't work, because he's going to get more guys. I'm coming with the fucking squad. And he goes and gets the seaplane, realizes the seaplane doesn't work. And what he has to do now is essentially be part of this May Day celebration. They bring him back to be part of this May Day celebration. And Christopher Lee has a scene, which is an excellent scene, which sets up the May Day celebration, where Christopher Lee is talking about Jesus Christ, and Howie, Edward Woodward, is talking about paganism and how they are alike, but they aren't alike, and how Howie's just like, well, paganism is nothing like Jesus Christ. It's all witches and fiction and this and that. And Christopher Lee comes back with one of the greatest lines I've ever heard to describe religion. He says, well, Jesus Christ was born of a virgin who was impregnated by a ghost. That, boy, yeah. Fucking great. Really fucking great. And it's, look, I don't care what you believe in, unless you try to annoy me with it. Then I care what you believe in. But, you read the Bible and you got to laugh at yourself if you take this shit to heart a little bit, don't you? Don't you have to laugh at yourself a little bit? I think you do. And I think you have to take it to heart if you take other people down because they don't believe in it. See what I'm doing here? I'm taking you down because you believe in it. You believe in stupidity. You're stupid. God's not real. Prove to me that he is. Just because you wear a little fucking thing on your chest doesn't mean shit. People got cock rings. So he essentially finds Rowan in this picture in the 1972 May Day picture. And there's, in every picture before, 71, 70, 69, 68, there's plentiful fruit and plentiful harvest around these little girls. In 72, there's no harvest. There's nothing. And I don't know how he put it together, how he goes, there's no harvest. Human sacrifice. And that's, of course, we're leading up to this. We know about this. It's human sacrifice. And he dresses up in the costume of the fool because he knocks out the guy who owns the Green Man Inn, who was the father of the woman who was naked doing the dance, trying to have sex with him on the island. So he's wearing the fool costume. And they go through this whole parade. And clearly, Robin Hardy watched Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, because this is just like Seventh Seal. Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, because there is a lot of that sort of disjointed rhythm movement, but more playful, I would say. And they do this pentagram sword thing called the chop, where if you get through the chop, you go on. So Howie gets through the chop, fine. Next person doesn't, and it looks like their head is cut off, but it's the costume of the animal. And at the very, very, not the very end, but so then that's the person who was supposedly supposed to be sacrificed. But then they go to this other area of the island where he sees Rowan Morrison. He sees her tied up. And he goes and saves her. And he essentially goes through these caves, this cave system. She's leading him through this cave system, only to come out on the other side where they're all waiting for him. Everyone's waiting for him. He thought he had escaped, and everyone in the town now has swords. They're all waiting for him. And they explained to him that this was all a ruse. Every bit of this. She was never missing. We knew you'd come. You're a virgin. You're a man of the law. And you're a Christian. You're dead. Such a good way to break it down, too. Because it could just be like, oh, we got you, now you're going to die. But they break it down in that way where this was a total ruse. The May Day Festival is happening. And yes, you know, the harvest didn't come. But now we have to sacrifice an actual adult. And Christopher Lee even says, yeah, we've sacrificed little animals. We've sacrificed big animals. Yes, we've even sacrificed children. But now we have to get this whole thing in order to find the right one. And you fit every criteria. So they put him in this white robe, ropes, and they essentially take him through the peat, the field, and they give a sacrifice to the god of the sea, where they just throw beer into the sea and it suds out. And then they're carrying him on, well, it's not a cross, but they make a cross of the villagers, and they're just carrying him. And he sees what his fate is. It's a giant wicker man that he's going to be put in the middle of. There are all these other animals. There's pigs, chickens, there's goats, there's baby cows. And he's going to be burned alive as an effigy to the gods. And he gets put up into this wicker man. And the last two shots of the film are the fire slowly rising up to him and him preaching to Jesus Christ that he will be seated at the hand of the Lord. His soul will be taken by Jesus Christ. And then the people of the cult are singing, swaying, singing to the earth. And it eventually ends with him being burned alive, the wicker man falling, and this great shot of the sun being sort of off to the right a little bit. And that's how the film ends. And I'm not going to recast this because Don's not here. I don't have to play that game right now. I'm not going to recast it. But I will say this. This is easily a 4.2 out of 5. Easily. Psychologically, it's beautiful. It's like I said, it's not shot well, but it pays itself off. The writing is fantastic. The acting is fantastic. There's not a moment where I'm like, this is just... Everything about it. See, if it wasn't a psychological horror film, it would probably be like a 4.8, 4.9. That this is how good a film can be in this genre. Um, I think it's important. I think you should see it. I think it's something that is a breath of fresh air. Still, 51 years later, it's a breath of fresh air. And they've tried to make movies about cults. I mean, they fooled you with Midsommar. I mean, that was a real piece of shit. Like an actual dog shit piece of shit for idiots who've never seen a film like this. See this film. It's fantastic. You'll do wonders for yourself. I don't know what next week's going to be. I'm thinking maybe Haxan, which came out in 1925, which I know you're all dying to hear about. A silent film about witchcraft. Oh boy, maybe. Um, I'm trying to get guests on here. It's kind of hard because everybody's a little big in the britches to get on, but we'll see. We'll see what we can do. I'm Joe Sonnenblick. It's been fun talking to myself for 20 minutes. And next week, let's go Mets.